This is Gradowski of WeAreChange.org, and with U.S. foreign policy becoming more emboldened with less consideration for the loss of civilian life, especially under U.S. President Donald Trump, a lot of times it's easy to lose sight of the effects that these strikes actually have on the people that they touch on the ground. And that's why in this video, you're about to learn that these strikes are a lot more complicated, especially in a developing battlefield like Somalia. These strikes are not as clear-cut and as simple as you think, but have severe ramifications because of them. Rarely do we ever get to see and hear from the people that are actually affected by these strikes, and that's why you're about to hear from this man that lost 11 of his family members during a failed U.S. raid on his farm. So first of all, thank you so much for meeting us here. And could you tell us your story?
My story is very difficult, by the way, because we are living in a misery situation, which is actually in between three warring sides. Number one is America, who is trying to bomb and bombard a very powerful group, which is against American influence and the government of Somalia. On the other side is the Somali National Army, who are also trying to invade and fight against that group of Al-Shabaab. And the third group is Al-Shabaab, who is also armed. So we are in these between warring sides, and whenever they fight, whenever they try to struggle and win against another, we are the ones who suffer and who die.
Could he explain more kind of what happened to him and how he sees things and how they unfolded?
I got two siblings. So my elder brother and his wife, who used to live in Lower Shabelle region, in Audegle village. So this Audegle village has been a base for AS, which is Al-Shabaab. And then the SNA, Somali National Army, getting help, military help from the US forces, special forces, stormed that area. And then without clarifying or without identifying who is innocent and who is not innocent, they just shot and killed anyone who was there. So there I lost my elder brother with his wife. So they died because of U.S. invasion, which really, gave me a very, painful feelings. Because at the moment now, 5 of these children of my elder brother and their wife, I'm now taking care of them, and I'm not working. And the youngest is like 1 year old now. So the US keep bombarding, keep sending drones without even knowing what's happening there. So it's better that the US understands on the ground before taking an action. Otherwise, we die there.
Can he describe some of the actions and details that happened against his family?
The US and the Somali National Army, they came there, calling my sibling, my elder brother and his wife and their friends, calling them like an armed group who belonged to Al-Shabaab, and they were not. So luckily I was not there at that time because I'm a city boy. I stay here. And then when I found out that there's some tension happening there, I went there. So when I went, then on the way I heard that there's a very intensive war happening there. When I went on the spot, I couldn't identify who is who because their bodies have been amputated apart. Some of them lost the head, some of them lost the leg, which I do not want now to talk about deep there because I feel the pain, which I don't want to talk about deeply. So in that case, I tried to collect the body because I knew my elder brother was there. And then we had the news that the US saying that they killed innocent lives, and then we got somehow happy because at least they convinced. And then a couple of days later, we had saying that they have killed terrorists. So in that case, they killed our children, our young generation, my brother. They killed their friends and so many important people of our life. And then they're saying that they are terrorists, which we cannot take it. So we tell the world and the US and whoever watching this that that's not what the US is trying to do in Somalia. The US is doing something very bad against us, which we want that you Americans engage with the government, tell them that they need to go on the spot, to consult the Somali National Army, to go there, understand who is who. Otherwise, we keep dying.
Was this a U.S. drone strike? And does he know that this was a U.S. drone strike? And how many of his family members did he lose?
It was, first of all, an inventory, like a ground offensive, which has been manipulated and arranged by Somalia, the National Army, with U.S. Air Forces. So the U.S., on our way to the scene, I have seen helicopters hovering around us, going to the direction of the Awdehra district. And then there we had that, shelling and bombardment and bombing doing the same helicopters that has passed, over us. We couldn't understand or identify whose body whose, because that's the only, that cannot be done by someone who was a gun. So it was a very indiscriminate shelling against us as a civilian.
How many family members has he lost, and how has it affected him and his community of people?
We are all brothers and sisters, because we are either, a nephew, niece, or uncle or aunt. We are all related to each other. So besides from losing my elder brother and his wife, I lost also my sibling, my aunts, my uncle, my niece, my nephew, which means I lost the whole family. Our community now living in a fear, because even if we hear like a commercial airline passing through over us, we think that maybe there's some shelling happening sometime soon. So we live in a fear, we live in a misery, we live in a shock. We even feel that we have been, discriminated by our own government, which means even if when U.S. does something against us, killing us, then the government immediately says, "Oh, we have given this order to the U.S. to attack this cell of terrorists," which is really wrong. We lost everything. We lost our farm. We lost confidence within our government. We lost, our life. We cannot even travel from that region to the city, because we are in the middle of, very powerful warring sites. If we leave the neighborhood, then AS is somewhere there. Then they stop us and say, "Stay," because they're even using us as a human shield, which is really another, reason that gives us opportunity, this American government, to bomb us. What does America want us? Why are they killing us? Why are they doing this? If you kill all of us, are you taking the land? Even if you take the land, what are you going to do? You're coming from very far away from us. You are in North America, and you are in East Africa. So even if you actually demolish or eradicate us, eliminate us, then what is your goal? What is your ultimate achievement you're going to achieve after you kill us? So if you ask that question to this government, the US, they cannot tell us the reason. Okay, suppose if they have a goal which is to destroy and eliminate Al-Shabaab, then why they don't enforce the government, give funding the government, and then establish a very powerful Somali forces which can actually defeat against us, rather than American, killing us. And for them, they do not understand who is who, which we understand, but that doesn't make them innocent. Of course, what's happening in Somalia is something beyond of our control. Like if I tell you who we are, as a community, we are a marginalized community. Even Somalis, some of them are racist. They marginalize us because Somalia share the power in a model which is called 4-5. 4 powerful clan, and 5 is very small clan, which is us, is saying. In that case, that's why we are neglected. So let me define you UN. As an old man, I know what UN is. UN is set up by the whole, the world. They all came together. And they had only one goal, which is to make the world safe and peaceful to anyone. I don't have any interest to go to the US because I belong here. This is my country. You as an American, you don't have any interest to move here because you're an American. You belong to America. So there's no need that the world invades another country, the country to invade another country, without knowing why he or she is invading that country. So now the UN is controlled by the US. The international community who are here now are under the US. So even if the UN takes a decision, your government, America, will take another decision against that, like a veto power, which is really unfair. So for us, we already believe that not the Americans, we believe the ordinary Americans are very good people. We believe that. But your government is actually manipulating you guys, making an enemy, Somalia against you. Because we believe that some community who has been affected by this indiscriminate shelling of bombardment by the US have already created animosity against the Americans. Now, if you go to some areas, you cannot say I'm an American. If you say an American, you will be in trouble because your government have killed so many children. So the more US, shell us, the more Al-Shabaab gets a more opportunity to recruit, to persuade these young children that they have a chance to revenge against, America. Those who are very close to me, they do not want turn, or join any armed group, because for us, we are an unarmed community. But there is a lot of young generation that actually turning or moving to the other side of joining Al-Shabaab, because they have a small brain and they're very young, and then they're under 18 or 15 or 10 years old, and they're told, look, your father, your mom, your brother have been killed by the US. So you need, to go to the jihad or join the Islamic, blah, blah. And then they just start, getting armed. We see the American government as a violent, no matter who's now leading, no matter who was leading. The government, the US government, we see them as a violent state, as a violent government. So basically, I've never had the chance to talk to any other media. So thank you, and please, you have to deliver my message to the Americans who are in the US.
Thank you again so much for watching. Please share this video with your friends and family members to get this story out. Right now we're dealing with a lot of YouTube censorship, with our channel being recently blacklisted by YouTube, even getting rid of our MCN, which we're going to be doing a full story on this YouTube channel very soon. But once again, thank you for all the people watching, sharing, donating, and also the Dash community that made this video possible. If it wasn't for you, this work would not exist. And that's why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/WeAreChange.